Welcome back. I'm now joined by Matthew Warren from our business desk. Hello, Matthew. Now, President Barack Obama in the US has raised the stakes in the fiscal cliff battle.
Yes, now the fiscal cliff referring to this package of tax rises and spending cuts that will come into effect in January unless a deal is done in Washington before the end of the year. And there are fears that that would push the US back into recession. Well, as politicians continue to disagree how to sort it out, the president has taken the battle online.
He may have been re-elected, but he hasn't stopped campaigning. Barack Obama is on the offensive, creating a My2K hashtag on Twitter and urging the public to pressure Congress to avoid the fiscal cliff. The U.S. president is optimistic a deal could be reached before Christmas. If not, middle-class households could see their tax bills skyrocket $2,000.
It's too important for Washington to screw this up. Now's the time for us to work on what we all agree to, which is let's keep middle-class taxes low. That's what our economy needs. That's what the American people deserve.
The cure to end debt woes is what any president would like for the holidays, but Democrats and Republicans are at loggerheads. Obama wants to end Bush-era tax cuts for the top 2%, but who are they? Individuals earning more than $200,000 a year and households making more than $250,000. Democrats say this could keep rates low for the other 98%, but the House leader says hands off the top two.
You're not going to grow the economy if you raise tax rates on the top two rates. It'll hurt small businesses. It'll hurt our economy. It's why this is not the right approach.
There are reasons for optimism. Some House Republicans are ready to compromise. If Obama cuts spending, then they'll agree to a tax hike for the 2%, a point that buoyed the U.S. market. But a lot of work remains. The clock is ticking, and U.S. politicians have 32 days to decide.
Now, as we just heard there, the US market's got a boost from those optimistic noises about the fiscal cliff. What about Europe, where the market's just opening now? How are they reacting?
That's right. We've just been taking a look, and European markets opening up as well this Thursday morning, as you can see there. And in Asia, it was almost a full house of markets moving upwards, just Shanghai slipping back a bit, but the Nikkei there in Tokyo doing well, 1% up.
Now, Matthew, you were telling us about this yesterday, and there's some good news for Argentina over its debt row.
Yes, now this row is all over the fact that a US court last week ordered Argentina to pay over $1 billion to a group of bondholders. Now, they had held out on a reduction deal that was done with bonds after Argentina's default over 10 years ago. Now, the government has resisted paying those bondholders. It calls them vulture funds, in fact. And on Wednesday, they got a reprieve. A New York appeals court has agreed to put a hold on that ruling from last week, and a further appeal will now be heard in February, so a bit of breathing space there.
And the battle over a steel-making plant here in France rages on.
Yes, we've been talking about this all week as well. The steelmaker ArcelorMittal wants to sell 2 blast furnaces at a plant in the northeast of the country, but the government says the company should offer to sell the entire plant so that it can attract buyers, and it's threatening to nationalise the site if the company doesn't agree to that demand. Now, the industry minister, he says they found a potential buyer who will take on the whole site.
We are ready precisely because we have an investor who is a steel maker, an industrialist who is not a financier, who moreover wishes to invest his personal money and is prepared to invest up to nearly 400 million euros to renovate the factory.
Well, let's get some more of the day's company news, and another troubled site in France could get some outside help. Libya's sovereign wealth fund says it may invest in a refinery owned by Petroplus. The news comes after the fund denied any interest earlier this week. 470 jobs are at risk if the refinery is forced to close.
Another mining company has announced large-scale cost-cutting plans. Rio Tinto plans to save around 4 billion euros over the next 2 years. The Anglo-Australian company is the world's second largest miner. It's been hit by slowing demand and a fall in commodity prices.
And 2 senior executives at BP have pleaded not guilty to manslaughter charges. Those charges relate to the 2010 oil spill disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. That follows news the US government has temporarily banned the oil giant from all federal contracts. The Environmental Protection Agency says the ban is due to a lack of business integrity.
Now, later this Thursday, Germany is releasing its latest unemployment data.
That's right, about 30 minutes from now, actually. And so far, Germany's had a pretty good record, just 5.5% unemployment. Now, around 70% of women in Germany are in the labour force, but many are calling for changes to help them balance work and family life. This report from our correspondent in Germany.
It's 3:30. Nina Vogel is a surgeon in a hospital near Berlin. Her working day is done. A year after her son was born, she went back to work, but only part-time. For this young mother, 32 hours a week is her max. Even then, she only just manages to keep on top of work and family life.
My working day starts very early in the morning, which allows me to finish in the early afternoon. My husband works from 9 till 6, and the opening hours of the nursery give us no other choice. There needs to be more nurseries, more teachers who work longer hours. 1 in 3 nursery schools close at 4, so we have to work around that.
Nurseries close early and 3/4 of schools only take children in the morning. The result is that 2/3 of working German mothers can't do a full-time job. Sophie Lüttich is a mother of 2. She works part-time for a company which runs nurseries, and she writes a blog for working mothers. She wants companies to adapt to the rhythm of family life.
A lot of women would like to work more but want their work to be more flexible. That's because they're confronted by these rigid work patterns which don't really encourage them to put in even more hours.
The German working mother was long seen as having an adverse effect on her offspring, and she's still struggling to find a place in society. Yet it's a matter of urgency. The working population here is in constant decline.
Businesses need to look for the talent in the right places. And in Germany, a large proportion of the talent are women, because more women than men here are graduating from high school and going to university.
There's unexplored potential here, all the more so since half of women who work part-time say they're underemployed.
Now, yesterday, Matthew, you were telling us about that massive lottery prize in the US. So, what are the results?
Yes, it was the biggest lottery prize in this particular game, the Powerball game. Yes, so I can tell you, here's the draw as it happened, and 2 winners shared the $550 million jackpot. Sadly, neither of us, Claire. But
we weren't allowed to play, though.
We weren't allowed to play, US residents. So they each get to take away $275 million. Exactly. And let's just hope they have some fun spending that.
I'm sure they will. All right, that's it for business. Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24. All the latest with Stuart Norval in just a few minutes' time.